You probably have experience from trying out different great ideas or proof of concept that never scaled nor generated the expected results. And I can promise you, you're not alone here. And that is exactly what we're going to talk about here today. How to find and scale value with a human perspective in mind. And a human with brilliant perspective, that is my colleague Niclas. And you have today brought with you two great examples or cases in which technology aspects and human aspects are perfectly aligned, right?
Yes, Karin. Firstly, a case from Austria, where we are looking into the internal organization in the context of the human perspective. And the second case is from the public sector. And we are looking into creating an experience with the human perspective.
In the previous episode, we've been talking about the cognitive enterprise as a means to speed up digitalization. And I know that you've been looking into how to help customers and enterprises to scale. What is the problem really about?
Many of us likes technology and we like to test off new technologies. And I'm thinking about artificial intelligence, computer vision, robotics, machine learning, and so forth. But what we can see is that projects with too much focus on technology, projects that has onboarded the stakeholders, the people, the organization that are intended to use the technology to gain efficiency or productivity or whatever business effect you're looking for. If you miss out that dimension, you kind of risk to lose out on business effect, the desired outcome.
All right. Let's come back to that, but let's go to the first case now. And for that, we have a guest with us, all the way from Austria. Welcome, Roy Sibbald. You are the Manufacturing Excellence Officer at Pipelife, a global pipe producer with production across Europe and beyond. And you're responsible for, I think, over 600 production lines. Welcome. Did you face the similar type of challenges in scaling up your Industry 4.0 journey?
Well, thank you for inviting me. Actually, we were aware of this challenge, and so we didn't stumble into that directly. I think what we did preventively is to tackle this human factor, this aspect up front. And that meant we basically started from the user perspective. And that allowed us to understand how would it actually impact the work that the users are doing? How does that impact our business? And can we match the technology to facilitate that?
So you started with the right angle there. But what was the original challenge, or what was the original problem that you were trying to solve with the technology or with the digitalization of your processes?
Now, I think this taps a little bit back to what Niclas was saying about the new technology coming around. At the time, we were trying to figure out what could Industry 4.0 mean to us. What could it do to us? And we started to explore, how is it defined? What does it really mean? But what we finally figured out is that whichever definition you try to follow in this Industry 4.0 world, they all have one thing in common, that is for sure. And that is that they need the data. They need the data of your business process in order to materialize on the technology. And this has been therefore our starting point. So we've not said we want to solve a problem, but we want to figure out how do we benefit from the Industry 4.0 evolution, knowing for sure that it will bring a benefit to us in one way or the other.
And it seems to me, like when you describe this, that you have had the human perspective with you all the way from the very start. So could you tell me who in your organization is benefiting the most out of having this production data available all the time?
Yeah, it's a good question. Obviously, we have a long history of doing continuous improvement, and in that program, all layers of the chain of command are involved, from operator up to the COOs. They're all involved in that process, and there is an enormous amount of requirement or need for data about the process. If you then look at the data that we had in the past, it was all rear mirror data. Is always in the past. And what we didn't have is this real-time data, and that became basically the breakthrough, because the moment you can do still something about it is the moment that it's happening. If it's in the past, you can't do anything about it anymore. So if you look at from the level of the shop floor upwards, on the shop floor level, if you can act at the moment that it's happening, then you can prevent things from going wrong rather than looking backwards on top of it. We need to justify every gram of raw material that comes in. That sounds a bit exaggerated, but of course it's the thought that counts. We need to know where every gram is going and that we can. And it's the same with time. Every minute counts. It's the same idea that we want to know where does this minute go? Is that a good minute, a added value minute, or is that a minute which is lost in producing scrap or even waste?
Niclas, I think that many who are hearing Roy's story here are becoming a bit jealous about the project that have come this far and realizing how to really make scaling work. So the big question, is there a model, or I know you've been looking into a model. Can you tell us about that?
Yes, I really appreciate how Roy is articulating their journey, and we can see a clear master pattern how to kind of run this. It has two major blocks in it. The first block is about envisioning, kind of understand what is happening, where, in which context does we kind of act out from there and kind of make a future statement. And then once that is done, then the organization is prepared for scaling. And Roy are touching upon that, and I think that is one of the journeys you are having ahead of you, Roy, scaling now from what you have kind of done so far.
Yeah, no, I think that's definitely what we've been doing. The scaling basically came into making a deal within the organization, and the deal was, you tell us what you need. We're going to make that possible in a proof of concept, but when the proof of concept is done, the deal is you implement. So you have all the influence that you want in the preparation of the proof of concept. It will be done, it will be evaluated, and if it's evaluated and it turns out to be good, then there's no excuses anymore. Then we're also going to implement. That was the deal that we made up front. Exactly. And I think that the testimony of that is that we did the proof of concept in December 2020. And now, end of 2021, like 48% of the companies are connected, fully connected. And next year, the second year after the proof of concept, we'll have over 80% of companies.
Wow.
So if you talk about scaling, yeah, that is for me, that was the whole idea about involving them upfront so much.
Super interesting to hear. If you would summarize the journey that you've been on now for over a year, what's your main 3 takeaways?
One of them is definitely involve the users that are going to work with the end result early from the start. Even before you have an answer, even before you have the technology totally developed, even if you have still a lot of questions yourself, involve them and make them part of the solution at the end of the day. I think that's one of the key things that we've learned and applied in this whole process. Another one clearly would be flexible, because no matter how well the technology looks to be developed, it's not actually. And you will go through developmental phases applying the technology to your business process. And a third one probably is you need to think in milestones and celebrate it in order to keep the team that is working on this motivated.
Great conclusion. So involve the user, flexibility, and celebrate. I like those 3. Thanks a lot, Roy, for joining us today.
My pleasure.
Good luck, Roy, and keep us informed about the journey ahead now.
I will.
All right, Niclas, so let's move to your second example and second case with the perfect mix between human aspects and technology aspects. What is that about?
Yes, let's move to a complete different case. Let's move to the lobby of a daycare center. The scope was to see if one could share information in a complete different way and enhance the experience, both for teachers, kids, and parents. And the principal were to use artificial intelligence so that you can verbally talk into the platform, or kind of touch symbols, icons, and so forth to interact, so to say. And the success were tremendous, very, very positive. And one day, one found a mother in the hallway crying of happiness. As a newcomer to Sweden, had difficulties to understand the language, but with this solution understood that her son was about to have a picnic later that week, and she understood it before the picnic, so she could pack for the picnic. And for that, it generated a lot of satisfaction for her.
That's a really heartwarming project. But is there any scaling aspect or scaling part here?
Yes. It happened so that elderly care homes have the same need. So now we're trying out the very same solution with some small modifications into elderly care homes.
Great. So two really different examples and cases today, but really, really interesting, both of them. If you would summarize the three main takeaways for how to succeed with scaling, what would these three be?
Perfect balance in the three-dimension human, business, and technology. The second one is focusing relentless on creating an experience. And thirdly, I would say, if you don't have the competence and the insight in your organization, go outside and find it, because the journey is on now, and make sure you are on that journey.
All right, thank you, Niclas, for sharing your insights. I attended a digital manufacturing conference earlier this year in which a business development manager from Rolls-Royce attended, and he said, you have to win the heart of the people in order to improve the process. And I think that is so much spot on what we've been talking about here today. If you want to hear more about insights, good examples, and how to become the cognitive enterprise, make sure to visit our webpage where you can see other episodes and also learn more about the Pipelife example. So until then, take care and stay safe.